Hey, explosions, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite movies, and today I'm going to review another movie, and that would be Soul. Yes, last night, more like this morning, like 4 a.m. in the morning, I watched Soul, the new Pixar movie, written and directed by Pete Docter, starring Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey. Apparently, Questlove is in this movie as well. Also, Richard Ayoade. And apparently, my man Daveed Diggs is also in this movie. Really happy for the guy. He has a killer 2020 after releasing the best album of the year. He's also going to star in a Pixar movie. So, Soul is essentially a movie about a guy who lives in New York. His name is Joe Gardner. He loves jazz music, and his life has been pretty pathetic and lame because he's been trying to get this gig, get that gig, but fail almost every single time until one day he finally got his shot. He's going to play in a jazz club with a really famous saxophone player, and he's like, damn, this is where my life will actually begin. And then he just falls into a ditch and fucking dies, or almost dies. And um, he had to go to the soul realm where he was about to be taken to the world of death, the beyond life, the great after. And he's like, oh my god, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. So he ran the other way because he was on an escalator, right? So he ran the other way and he went to the great before, when souls are manufactured before they are sent into the world and are born as living things, I guess. And that is pretty much the movie. And in that situation, he was mistaken as a mentor because apparently there are lots of mentors, like actual people who had lived and had returned to the great before, to the soul realm, to teach a bunch of what? Okay, it's frozen. To teach a bunch of, unborn souls, to be, prepared for the earth and whatever. And Joe Gardner was chosen uh, as a mentor for Soul number 22, which is our supporting character here. Now, Soul number 22 is the 22nd soul ever to be created, by the way, which is absolutely insane given how many human beings or even living things has existed already. The 22nd soul, really? And yeah, that's pretty much it. And number 22, it's an it. It doesn't have a gender, but I'm just gonna call it a she because it's voiced by Tina Fey. So she's a very nihilistic person. She hates Earth. She thinks that she's already had all she wants in the great before, in the soul realm. So she's like, nah, I hate Earth. I don't want to go to Earth. And for the longest time ever, because in order to go to Earth, you need to fulfill some requirements. And the last and most important requirement is the spark. And if you have the spark, you're going to get an Earth badge. If you have an Earth badge, you can go to Earth. And to find the spark, you need to find like the purpose of your life, like what is your passion and whatnot. But number 22 had never found her spark after thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So yeah, let me get into the pros before I get into the cons. First of all, let's get the obvious out of the way. I love the themes of this movie. And yeah, I mean, after Disney had been just pumping out with one boring, bland, unoriginal remakes after another, it's always really pleasant to see them sort of come out with a more original movie. And this time, yes, sure, kids will watch this and be like, damn, this is pretty entertaining, this is pretty cutesy, but adults will be watching this movie and go, wow, this hits home. And even though I'm only 18 years old, I kinda, yeah, this movie kind of hit me in some ways as well because I have been really passionate in filmmaking, but there has been points in the last few years when I'm like, maybe this is not right for me. Maybe if I choose this path, all that's going to happen to me is fail, and by the end of my life I'm going to regret it because all I have is failure. And this idea has been pondering in my mind for a very, very, very long time already, and I'm sure it will continue to ponder behind my mind. So yeah, this movie Soul really did hit home for me, and I'm sure for a lot of adults as well, which is why I really, really love the themes of this movie. And the ultimate theme of this movie, the ultimate concept, is really to enjoy life. What is the purpose of life? You don't live because you have that one thing you have to do, you live to live. And I'm pretty sure that's a concept that I probably won't understand until I'm older. But having watched this movie, I kind of see that, okay, yeah, this concept exists. Maybe I won't get it now, but I'll hopefully get it in the future. Because again, I'm only 18 years old. But yeah, another thing I love about this movie is the music. Surprisingly, it is done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, aka Nine Inch Nails, and they have made some pretty fantastic movie scores, especially for David Fincher, for a while now. And this, more like last year, in the same year, they had made the score for The Trial of the Chicago 7 by Aaron Sorkin, I think, and now they're doing Soul, and it's surprisingly good. Now, for the jazzy parts, they didn't do it, but for the more electronic parts, they did the soundtrack parts, and it sounds amazing. It sounds fantastic. I also love the setting of the story. The busy, bustly, the very detailed New York scene is fantastic. I've never been to New York before. I really want to. And I kind of thought to myself, maybe I shouldn't have watched movies and TV shows about New York before I go there so that I would be surprised. But it's honestly whatever. But this movie also has a really nice balance between the busy, bustly New York City and the very calming, dreamy, ethereal Seoul realm. I also like the character designs of the Jerrys and Terrys, which are like the managers of the Seoul realm, like the Jerrys. Like there are multiple Jerrys. They're like managing the souls, and then the Terrys are the accountants, and they're really interesting designs. They're like Picasso paintings. Uh, yeah, and yeah, I mean, yeah, the first few scenes are really enjoyable, and the last, I think the second last scene where Joe Gardner, minor spoiler, when Dorothea Williams, the woman, the saxophone player, when she performed, and Joe Gardner was there, that scene was beautifully shot. The colors, the animation, and you can even see the sweat on the musicians' faces because when people perform music, they sweat, they put a lot of effort into it, and you can actually see them sweat, and it's a really nice little detail. But yeah, that's as far as the pros go. We also have a bunch of cons in this movie. The biggest issue I have with this movie is how many plot holes there are, given that this movie tackles the soul realm, the soul, life and death. You know that there's going to be a lot of plot holes because it's just a concept that's just so flawed and illogical. And sure, you can say, yo, this movie is for kids. If it's illogical, so be it. But at the same time, this movie has themes that clearly appeal to the more adult demographic. So you just can't have it both ways. Now I have a laundry list of plot holes and illogical concepts in this movie. First of all, according to Terry, this whole Joe Gardner, who's supposed to die but went to the great before by accident, has never happened in centuries. And it's kinda confusing. So are you saying that it's been centuries and nobody wanted to not die? Second of all, this is Soul number 22. And I know it's a hypothetical, but if all souls in this movie only apply to human beings, then soul number 22 is like the 22nd human being ever, supposedly. Or if all souls apply to all living things, then is like supposedly soul number 22 like the 22nd living thing on Earth? That would be insane. Alright, now put that aside. Another really confusing thing is that for these souls to enter Earth, they have to get an Earth badge, they have to develop a personality, develop this, develop that, until they are prepared. And then there's this back door in this soul realm, which is entered through a box, and apparently the Jerrys don't know that. And we enter this sea, this desert, where there are hippie pirates who can just open friggin' black holes and send people down to Earth really fast and easy. So, if you can enter the Earth that way, why don't you just enter the Earth that way? Why did you have to acquire an Earth badge when you don't even need it? And you can oppose against my argument by saying that the desert hippie thing are all for souls who had already lived. But then why did it also apply to number 22 when number 22 had not lived yet? Alright, now we have the zoning out zone, which is in the same place as the desert hippie place anyways, where essentially when people, not only artists, but people in general, when they zone out, they enter this zone, and they can actually be interrupted by souls. You know, you can like throw a rock at some person who's in the middle of a basketball game, like the New York Knicks or something, and they would immediately miss the hoop. Shots fired, man. Shots fired. But essentially that's what it is. Now, for those people who are zoning out in the zone, they don't know that they are literally in the zone, in the soul realm. They're just in their head. They're just doing their thing. But towards the end of the movie, Joe Gardner wanted to go back to the soul realm, and to do that, he zoned out, and he basically entered the soul realm by zoning out in real life. How does that even work? And that had apparently never done before. That had never happened before in the movie or in the lore. So what the heck is that? And another thing is, because number 22 at some point, and Joe Gardner fell into the hole in the middle of the hippie desert place, and Joe became a cat, and number 22 became Joe. She's in Joe's body, but the cat was originally living, so the cat died. It just died. The soul of the cat just left. And so with that concept in mind, when the hippie desert pirate guy returned in real life, which is apparently possible, he's like, for you guys to swap back to your, right bodies, to the appropriate bodies, like you need to perform some sort of ritual, because if you don't do that, then number 22 will forever not be a human. And it's like the cat just swapped, like you can just replace souls. Can't number 22 just replace a soul then? Or more like, can an already existing soul be replaced by number 22? Like the cat's soul being replaced by Joe Gardner's soul out of nowhere. Alright, another problem I have is that in a lot of the moments in this movie, they sort of mistake the soul as the brain. Like, they have to develop the personality for the soul before the soul has to get to Earth, meaning that the personality is already developed before they were born. Now, I'm not going to argue with this completely because I'm sure some people will disagree with me, but personally, I mean, logically, personality is developed after a person is born and not before. But I guess the more confusing part is that when Joe Gardner was in a cat, the number 22 was in Joe's body. number 22 could access Joe's memories because she's in Joe's body. So why can't she walk? Because her brain, or Joe's brain, is already fully developed. Why can't she make the decisions for herself on behalf of Joe if she already has Joe's brain? But then at the same time, Joe had become a cat, yet Joe still thinks like himself, but he has a cat brain now. And that also is kind of confusing because throughout a good chunk of the movie, number 22 in Joe's body is communicating with Joe in the cat. But the cat can't communicate with other human beings in real life. So why is it that number 22 in Joe's body understands cat whisper? And also the desert hippie guy who understands cat whisper. How? I don't know why. And there's also one scene in the movie where, Joe had to bring number 22 to the hall of everything. And there's a part where it's like, oh, pizza. And Joe realized, wow, in the soul realm, you can't smell or taste pizza. Wow, that's really disappointing. Then how can they hear and see? They are senses too, right? So they have to go to Earth in order to experience these senses. Then why can they see and hear before they even went to Earth? I don't know. So yeah, there are a lot of illogical concepts and ideas in this movie that ought to be clarified, in my opinion. I guess another thing is some of the jokes just don't land. Like number 22 is always like, oh yeah, I've had a lot of mentors. I've had George Orwell. I've had Archimedes. I have friggin' Albert Einstein. I have Abraham Lincoln, and they all said I suck. And then we have the actual conflict of the movie, which is basically just Freaky Friday, and I'm fine with Freaky Friday. It's not the most original plot idea ever, but an entertaining Freaky Friday is an entertaining Freaky Friday. But the ultimate conflict in this movie is basically, oh my god, I accidentally messed up my body's hair. Oh my god, I just ripped a hole in my pants. And sure, these little conflicts ultimately built up to, so now I'm beginning to appreciate the little things in life. We live not to pursue a passion, but to live. And I really like that, but still ultimately the conflicts aren't really that huge. And yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm the way I just reviewed this movie, it's almost like, damn, this is a very negative review. But honestly, put these illogical aspects aside, I still really love the themes of the movie. The movie manages to make Joe Gardner's character immediately likable in the first scene, which is really impressive. The pacing is near flawless. Pixar is really good at that. And yeah, I like the idea of this movie, and I really like the conclusion as well. The ending scene, when Joe was just playing the piano, and we see a montage of the little moments in his life, and I was just like, oh my god, like I almost cried in that scene, but I didn't. Okay. So yeah, Soul, pretty good movie. Is it great though? Not necessarily. I'm feeling decent to strong, 7 out of 10. So, have you watched Soul? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate it? Like if you like it, and subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.